Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League.
And
My name's Suj.
what are you hesitating for?
Oh, I was waiting for you to come in, James. How are you? Merry Christmas. All
Why would
done.
I interrupt like an opening speech that
I
you've
was
now
in my
done about
flow.
3,000
I was
times?
in my flow. Do you know what I was thinking about, James? We now know the best replacements for Bukayo Saka. Mo
And
Salah,
Andy
Cole
Gordon.
Palmer, and nobody else seemed to perform
No, it's pretty
so
much
far.
Andy Gordon or flop,
And
basically.
exactly that. Maybe it's going to be one of the Arsenal players who are playing this evening. I know quite a
Could
few
be,
went
in fairness,
to
yes.
Erdegaard. We are 80% of the way through the game week, James. One more game week after this, and we're actually halfway through the season. It's
Oh,
flown by.
blimey. Yeah.
Would you believe it? And yeah, 18 games in. How is your game week going so far?
Uh, Average, it feels. I'm on 50. Although 28 points of that feels irrelevant in the context to most others with Salah captain and for 18 and Cole Palmer on 10. So Isak 8 and Hall 6 essentially is my game week. Bought Trent and Jota on Monday evening. Trent was ex-lively last night, but I stand by what I said on Monday. I don't think he's worth the money, but I had the money. So he's
Yep.
ended up going in. I've already thought about moving it on. I'm not going to, but I've already thought about it. I've got three to go tonight. It's a double Arsenal defence, Raya, Gabriel, and João Pedro.
Nice. Not bad at all. Not too dissimilar for me. Yeah. Mo Salah, effective ownership around me, 197%. So regardless of what he
Irrelevant.
scored. And
It's
Cole
just it's
Palmer,
just nice to see your captain not blank, even though it doesn't
that's
mean
true.
anything. I think it's a psychological.
Cole Palmer, 93% around me, effective ownership. So
Yeah,
again,
it was higher
irrelevant.
near me.
Really.
So yeah, the two of them literal irrelevant.
Yeah. And so there's quite a few Arsenal players still to play today, so you can't really look at overall rank. But I've had a green arrow overall on 55 points. The difference for me is Cunha, who was excellent yesterday. And I know there's a few people, sour grapes, that he should have been banned already and shouldn't be playing. But to pick up 21 points when I didn't even think I'd get any minutes out of him is an absolute result. And like you've said previously on shows, there's every chance now that he'll play against Spurs, isn't there?
Yay, Cunha, just ban him.
Well, I'm going to keep a hold of him because had he been banned, definitely would have moved him on. And I was thinking about
You are
Jesus.
out of your mind if you're
Yeah,
considering
no,
selling him this week.
no.
Let me tell you.
He has had net sales in the last 2 weeks, understandably, with the potential ban or people maybe trying to free up money for different moves.
Can I
But
just say, it'd be
he's
bloody
so good.
hilarious if he obviously gets charged and it's like, oh yeah, 10 grand fine.
Yeah.
And he doesn't miss any games. He is going to at some point. I'm fairly certain of that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. The difference for me tonight is I've got Flecken to Raya. And so I've got Pedro going up against Flecken, which is not ideal. You never really kind of want an attacker against the defender. And Gabriel as well still to go. So I'm on a green arrow. I'm up to 306k from 340. So it's not huge. Could easily go down today. But I think overall I should hold or go up today. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, Arsenal clean sheet will probably take me back to near I was, sort of 13k. Boomer's the one that can do a little bit of damage to me tonight. I know there's a few like Arsenal differentials. None of them should hurt me too significantly where I am at the moment.
Good, good, good. Any thoughts on Game Week 19 transfers? I mean, it's literally no turnaround, is it? We've got 0 days and we're into the next game week. So,
Yeah, I mean, it comes around quick. So, no suspensions or injuries picked up so far this game week. It's probably a roll. I think I got 2 million in the bank. There's a little bit of a temptation to force Ollie Watkins in from -4. I don't think I'm going to do it though. That forcing it in would be João Pedro to Watkins, and then it's Semenyo down to a 4.4 midfielder or below, which I don't feel quite a requirement to have that eighth attacker now because I've got a really strong back five. Like I'm benching Castagne and Lewis Hall as it stands this game week, so that would effectively become my 15th player. It's a little temptation in that, but yeah, take a -4 for one player playing on one team to one playing on the other team because Villa play Brighton Monday night, and that don't feel right. So I think it's going to more likely be a roll. Those that would maybe interest things like Mateta, even England and Ketcher might play. There feels like a lot of that. I could go Semenyo to Gordon. That's Gordon is going to be really popular in the build up to this game week purely because, and he was already gone up in price last night, purely because of the Saka replacements. The ones that people went to have largely completely flopped, except for him.
Yeah,
So if like your Martinellis and Odegaards don't return tonight, got everyone looking around going, have I made the wrong decision? And then looking at Gordon now going, well, United and Tottenham, sure, that's the next two games and they're both away, but he's nothing to fear for an attacking player, is it? Quite
no.
clearly. And United have got a few suspensions going into Sunday
Well,
now.
I was going to say it feels like there was a wave of people moving towards Bruno Fernandes as the
It's
most
so
popular
many.
choice for Saka replacements.
The thing
He's
is
now suspended,
with the
so
thing
a lot of
with
those owners now may be considering Anthony Gordon because they're not likely to have any value tied up in Bruno.
well with Bruno as well, it's not just that he's suspended for Newcastle the next game after that he's back is Liverpool away.
Yeah,
So you're looking at that and thinking, can I make a game?
a move. Yeah,
So I think yeah, he'll get a little bit of attention. I think other teams that will come onto radar for people this week. Fulham is one. Amazing result yesterday
yep,
at Stamford Bridge. Some good upcoming fixtures. Crystal Palace. I mean, Crystal Palace are going to offer a lot of solutions this week, be it Munoz, be it Sarr, be it Mateta, and even Henderson in goal. So across the four positions, it feels like there's a Palace solution. Like Henderson's only
yep.
4.4, right? They've got a good sustained run now, pretty much up to the blank. Crystal Palace, where Barcelona Chelsea at home game week 20, you'd be pretty happy to field it in most game weeks. So like Henderson, Munoz, Sarr, and Mateta will all attract a little bit of interest. That might be a solution for me, but I just think I'll probably be better off rolling this week. I think I have like Semenyo, Castagne, Hall on the bench is probably where I'm at this week at the moment. So yeah, I'll probably let it roll. And one benefit of obviously Jota not starting last night is it feels
He
more
will
likely
play
that it will
against West
start
Ham.
on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, is that your mindset with Jota? Because we both used him as our Saka replacement.
Yeah, I mean,
For me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get 90 minutes out of him, or at least close to in the next game.
I definitely don't think that's a certainty because it could easily be that it's just Diaz comes in for
Nunez.
Nunes and Gakpo plays again. Cody Gakpo was absolutely outstanding last night.
Yep.
In fact, it was
Yep.
the pick of Liverpool's players, I thought, last night. But yeah, minutes for Jota will increase. For me, it wasn't just the Leicester decision with Jota.
Yep.
It was a forthcoming 6-7 sort of game weeks decision.
Yep. And West Ham obviously yesterday lost Fabianski, Kilman, both to injury. So they're going to be doubts. Rodriguez and Soucek managed to get themselves suspended as well. So it's going to be depleted numbers again. So if Jota even gets another half an hour, you'd hope for a return against West Ham.
Any temptation to go against Mo this week?
Zero. The only thing is, again, minutes. Right, we were concerned that would he even get minutes in this game. He has. He doesn't look like he's. If they're using the traffic light system, he's still pretty green for me. I think in terms of his fitness and what he looks like. So I think I'm still going to be captaining.
Palmer at Ipswich? Not tempted? You might
I
be if you
guess
watch them tonight, maybe.
there is always a temptation, but I think that just the EO numbers is going to sway me towards Mo as well. Look at it from this weekend. I think the majority will still go with Mo Salah. So I'm going to go with Mo Salah.
Yeah,
There's no reason with West Ham to go against it.
no, and we'll talk about it. You're going to have to make a number of changes this weekend as
A
well,
lot.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I've been saying for a few weeks, it's now at the point with Mo where I need a very, very good reason to go against. I don't think I have it this week.
Yeah, I don't see myself making a transfer this week either. Defensively, my double City defence, we'll talk about them in a minute when we start getting into the games, is so annoying because to lose the clean sheet obviously hurts, but then to have Leicester away next week, it's like, well, I'm going to play them again because the fixtures are decent. So I think I'm still going to line up with Gvardiol, Lewis, Gabriel and Trent at the back. I've got Salah and Jota at West Ham, Palmer against Ipswich, and then Cunha against your team, João Pedro, Isak. And then the bench is Rogers, Semenyo, Hall. again. Um,
Jeez. Who's your other keeper?
Valdemarson. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Fabianski is no longer a solution.
I don't think people should be bench boosting over this period anyway.
No, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Too risky. Too risky. But yeah, I think I'll be rolling as well, and I've already got one free transfer, so I'll be rolling up to. I've got two now, so I'll be rolling up to three, James.
Okay.
Cool. Let's talk about the games, starting with my double clean sheet wipeout. Man City won, Everton won. This was your prediction. You predicted 1-1. I thought Man City would win, but clearly not, though. Had Erling Haaland not missed a penalty, maybe it would have been different.
It just speaks volumes in itself, doesn't it? That like I predicted
Yep.
City not to beat Everton at home,
Yep.
and no one called it out on my stream or anything. No one mentioned it at all. And I think, to be honest, you watch the first 15, 20 minutes or so, and you think, actually, yeah, City should end up being quite comfortable here. But as soon as the setback happened of the equalising goal,
Yep.
City, you're watching the second half, and you're not thinking City are winning that game after the
No.
Haaland missed
No.
penalty. And that for Haaland owners, I mean, my goodness. I was thinking there was the rumour, obviously, that the Liverpool game might get postponed
Yep.
because of the fog. I can't give you
Yep.
any tactical analysis of that other than for long periods of that game last night, I thought Liverpool were playing in pink. But for those who held on to Haaland, you'd have been looking now thinking, I can't believe this. Salah might not even play again this week, and I've still not won.
Yeah. Awful. But then,
Ah,
yeah, it's probably been one of the most surprising runs of form to hit anybody for as long as I can remember. I mean,
I
it's
think
ridiculous, and the point swing is crazy.
if you've got Haaland, it's Captain Sunday.
Leicester
You've
away.
put yourself into doing this. If you're looking at it now and you still want Haaland, and you got Leicester away and you're flinching off the armband, what's he doing there on
There is a
14.8
there is
million?
a there is a hat trick incoming at any given moment. The problem
He's
is you
there.
might, yeah, I
He's
think
got
so.
like 3 and
I think
11 or
so.
something, boss.
Yeah, but I think there will be a switch that will get flicked. Although I feel like this is my Manchester City bias. This is why I've held on to two defenders, and I'm considering playing them both again this week. I think I'm slow to accept that Man City are not the Man City that we've grown to expect, and I shouldn't keep having faith that they're going to turn it around, that Haaland's going to score three or there's clean sheets incoming, because I think it's detrimental to my decision making. I think I should be selling Rico Lewis and probably possibly Guardiola as well.
They're absolutely vulnerable to anybody. They easily could have lost this at the end of the game if Everton weren't so bloody slow in the decision making on two counter attacks in sort of the last 10 minutes, including one joke one that ended with a Jack Harrison block shot towards the end, in injury time, sorry. Then they could have lost this as well. They were there for the taking at the end of the game. You could feel the frailty. And I think you can even feel when you watch them, even at the Etihad at the moment, you can feel the anxiety coming through your television screen from the crowd and stuff. Like they can't believe what they're watching. They're just rank average at the moment, and a lot of it is to do with how they are off the ball, which I think has been a problem, by the way, for longer than the results have shown. Actually, I think it's a problem that
Yeah.
dates back to last season. Now teams know how to hurt it, and mentally it's gone with the legs have gone at the same time. Basically, I'm sitting here saying the same thing every time I watch them play. Rank average, and
Yeah, don't
I'm
worry.
sure they will still finish top four, but that is now the discussion now. Although it's top five, isn't it? It's so likely to be fifth will be enough, and I'm sure City will finish top five. But if you started having a few more injuries, I mean,
The problem
let's
is the
just
game
say
after the next, James, is West Ham.
if Haaland
And
did get
I'd say
injured,
Captain Haaland for that as
if
well.
Haaland did get injured, would they play up front?
It's a great question. Maybe Foden as a false nine?
Mind you, they might find better fluidity in the way they play again. I mean, that probably would be the
The
solution that they'd end
solution.
up with. Yeah, there's nothing that I saw yesterday would make me think, yeah, my solution to any problems I've got is going to be a Manchester City player. It's not. For Everton, what an absolutely terrific result. Consecutive draws against Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester City in a
Yep.
row. I don't think anyone could look at any of them three results and say that they didn't earn them or was particularly fortuitous. It's absolutely fine that you could look at the XG yesterday and say City had far higher than Everton, but in terms of open play XG, City created well under one. So in terms of the variables they can control in terms of open play, not much at all. So that's an incredible little set of results under a real period where Sean Dyche was under real pressure. Obviously, the change of ownership's come through, and suddenly fixtures on the horizon. Psychologically, once you've gone through this little spell, they don't look so bad. Things like Forest, Bournemouth, Villa, Tottenham, Brighton don't feel so bad when you've just had the
Correct.
results that you've
They
just
do need
had.
to start getting some wins on the board because as much as they've been
Do
doing
they?
well, there's only a 3 point gap to Leicester, which I no one thinks they're getting sucked in, to be honest with you. But just a couple of wins would help them push up to have a little bit of a comfy
I
cushion.
know many Everton fans would like change and they'll probably get it in the summer. Everton will not go down if Sean Dyche stays their manager.
Yeah,
What a goal from Iliman and Dyer, by the way, who I might have tipped up as this is I know we're joking, the one
yeah.
that will hurt City this week. I'm really struggling for a Leicester name, which probably sums up actually that I do think Manchester City will go to Leicester and win at the weekend. I said over these five that I thought they would probably get 13 points. I wouldn't be surprised, despite the problems they've got to win the next four. I think they're pretty good fixtures, actually. And Leicester just feels like a dream fixture at the moment. You got a
Yep.
factor for Leicester as well. They're knackered from last night.
Yep.
If City can't win that game on Sunday, where are we? What, they one win in 13 now?
Yeah, it's crazy in the league. It's awful.
Yeah, really, really good defensive performance. And worth shouting out Jordan Pickford, of course, as well,
Yep.
for the penalty save. Um, Is he highest scoring goalkeeper now? He
He
must be
is
close
now.
to.
He's just jumped over Sells. So he's on 82 now. Sells is on 80, and then Onana comes down next at 69. So
And at a cheaper
I saw our
price than
friend Praz had tweeted. He said that next season, Pickford. If Pickford's not my goalkeeper, I've been hacked. He's just always proved such a good
but
set and
so many
forget.
people started with Pickford last season and came off.
So
And people
annoying.
would have done it again
So
this
annoying.
season, I think.
Yeah.
It's worth noting, obviously, Everton likely to have the double soon as well. 24 or 25 is possibly how it now looks. So yeah, he'll get a little bit of investment. It's the best pound for pound Everton asset, isn't it? It's him.
Yeah, no doubt. Should we talk about Bournemouth nil, Crystal Palace nil? I didn't get too hurt with my Man City double clean sheet because there weren't too many other clean sheets kicking around that had ownership. And even from this game, there will be the Munozes or the Kirkeses. Some people would have gone with Dean Howson, but ultimately, yeah, no attacking points, just the clean sheets.
Yeah, probably a disappointing result for Bournemouth trying to kick on. It's a decent result for Palace considering their league position at the moment. Although it doesn't feel like there's quite a difference between the two clubs as the league table would suggest at the moment.
No,
I've not caught a lot of this. It does seem like both sides have decent chances, particularly Bournemouth. I watched the first half of the highlights last night. Was wondering where my man Semenyo was, but he had a few opportunities in the second half. Actually, he's probably going to be the attacking one I leave out this week, and to think Rodgers at home to Brian is probably the way to go rather than Semenyo at Fulham. Shouldn't be much doubt about a Semenyo rotation either, particularly with Justin Cliver. He's suspended for that trip to Fulham this week, having now accumulated 5 yellow cards. By the way, this week is the kind of the amnesty game,
yep,
19th game,
yep,
except for obviously Everton and Liverpool players need to make it through two more games. Then the threshold increases to 10 yellow cards. Evan Nilsson benched.
yep.
Good news if you own, you know what that means.
He
He'll
plays at the
start he'll
weekend.
start at Fulham on Sunday, although you probably would have rather he'd started this one. I completely understand that. Dean Hyson now up to 4.4. So that's probably leveled out now between him and Kirkes, where I felt over the last
Yep,
couple of weeks, get Hyson at 4.3 will probably be worth the saving on that. For Palace, as said, this run of fixtures is really good coming up. Southampton at home, Chelsea away, Leicester away, West Ham away, Brentford at home. I've only got Fulham better than them over the next five. And then the run up to the blank is United away, Everton at home, Fulham away, Villa at home, Ipswich at home. Feels very reasonable as a kind of a longer term run. So, as said, Henderson at 4.4. Munoz is down to what, 4.7.
yep.
Sard 5.8, I think now, Suj.
Yes, you're right.
I could go there, but I'm not convinced to force it in. João Pedro to Mateta kind of appeals, but I've got two nagging feelings on that. One, it feels like to me like Nketiah could start at the weekend. Although he wasn't in the squad yesterday, he missed out with illness. But make of that what you will for Sunday. Depends how badly he's on the toilet, I suppose. And I also wonder with Mateta, is it a little bit like what I said with Matoma and João Pedro very recently? Am I paying a much bigger price for the second best asset?
Yep.
Because I think it's Sarr. He's the best
Yep.
attacking one to
Who
go
would you
for.
sell? Semenyo?
Wait, if I went
If
for
you went to
Sarr,
Saar? Yeah.
yeah, Semenya would be the one I'd cut off in the midfield area. Obviously, it would be João. I can go João Pedro
João
to
Pedro.
Mateta in one move, which is tempting. And if Oliver Glasner was to say to me, "Yeah, do you know what? Nketiah's not going to be available this weekend," then I could see myself making that move
Yep.
potentially. Mark
I
Gay's
could.
suspended this weekend, by the way.
Is he? I could see myself going from Lewis to Munoz in one move.
He,
I've got the money in the bank. I just think, do I want to force it this week? Crystal Palace have got Southampton at home, and City are at Leicester. Do I see it as worth the transfer this week, or can I hold on for one more week? So I'm going to wait and see on that. But yeah, I can't get to any other Palace players, nor do I want to. It's only Rico Lewis to Munoz that's the tempter at the moment.
Munoz is the defensive player that I'm going to be without that I'm going to ignore. I think if I was to be honest, I would say to anybody who's making a wanting to buy a defender this week, Daniel Munoz is your one. I just don't
Really?
think there'd be a deliberation on that, almost irrespective of price.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't particularly need one, so I think I'm probably to overlook him. On Mark Gay, by the way, that is suspended on Sunday. It's yellow cards in 3 consecutive games has
Oh
taken him
wow.
there. So for those who invested in him, you'd be
Gutted.
absolutely gutted with that.
Yeah. Frustrating. Cool. Let's talk about Chelsea 1, Fulham 2. Late. Money's coming in. And
That's not going to
yeah,
make the title or the intro.
no. Um, I always remember Manchild would always want to have Matty Cash and Monies in his team, Cash Monies. But super win for Fulham. Keeps them right up, running in the table. I think they're up to seventh now, are they? Seventh or eighth? Did
I
they leapfrog
Such
City?
I'd stop looking at the league table, mate.
Yeah, yeah, it's depressing though, I know. But yeah, super. They're up to eighth now, joint points with Manchester City. A great late win.
What a result. It's their rivalry game as well. So Fulham fans have had the happiest Christmas of all Premier League clubs, I think. Little bit of a tactical tweak as well. I did suggest this in an article I did for our advanced tier patrons that it wasn't impossible that Robinson and Castagne played as wing backs, and that's what they did. And there was part of my thinking on that was I know we want to bring Anderson back in the team, but I think Bassi and Diop have done quite well. Plus, Fulham had some midfield issues, right? We knew
Yeah,
Sanderberg was probably likely to miss the game as well. So they found a system that's really worked for them that allowed them to kind of defend in a 5-4-1, but also be very aggressive in possession, push them wing backs really high. And I think part of the idea behind that was to try and push Sancho and Neto back and force Chelsea to retreat. And it feels like the longer this game went on, I don't want to say it became inevitable that Fulham got something out of the game, but Chelsea, I think Chelsea fans watching the game in the second half, the vibe I'm getting is they would have happily walked out of that ground at 1-0 and said, let's forget this and take the points and put it to bed. It certainly sounds like it wasn't just a smash and grab at the end, and that Fulham very much deserved something from the game. There is no guarantee that the back three will stick, which would be more appealing for Robinson and Castagna. But they have such a
definitely.
bias down their left hand side anyway that, like, if Robinson and Castagna were the same price, you definitely buy Robinson.
Yeah, agree.
They definitely have that bias that side. Now, if you don't have either, and I think again, now the Chelsea game's gone, you really will be looking. If you don't, then I do think I would seriously consider making the saving with Castagna at 4.2.
Yep. Yep.
That's the way I've gone very recently. The likes of Iwobi don't appeal to me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I feel like Fulham could continue to do very well, and the attacking returns might completely dry up. He certainly didn't elbow Pedro Neto intentionally on the equalising goal. Neto could do with getting up off his arse. I like Enzo Fernandez appealing for offside while he's nearly in the away end, by the way. Might just marginally be playing Harry Wilson on, who I think his highest might be joint with one other player for most goals as a substitute. this season. So
You'd suspect John Duran might be up there on that stat.
I think you're right with John Duran. I think you're right.
Yeah,
4 each, I think, for the two of them. Jimenez back in the team. That shouldn't be a shock. Could we be shocked if Muniz started on Sunday, though? No, and he took the winning goal brilliantly well, didn't he?
yep, yep.
So a little bit of question marks about what's next for Fulham. I don't think question marks on the defensive players in terms of the minutes. So Anderson's now back in, that sticks. And it'll either stick as a free or Diop will come out the
We'll
team.
drop
It'll be
out.
one
Yeah,
or the other.
yeah,
And a little bit of question marks on obviously Jimenez, whether he starts this weekend. Because that could just be a solution for me as well to my João Pedro headache. But I'm not going to do that, am I? I'm going to take out a
no,
player I almost know is going to play for one that might not. I could look in game week 20 and then probably feel more comfortable that Jimenez does play Ipswich and go, yeah, actually, that's more the
yeah.
move I want to make. And looking at that does open up the temptation for me back towards Gordon, ironically. Because I think, well, I can spend the money there. So if I really want to come off João Pedro after game week 19, Jimenez is going to appeal to
Jimenez.
me
Yep.
again, I think. So, yeah, absolutely terrific result for Fulham. Manager so often gets his tactics right in some of the bigger games. He's so underrated, Marco Silva. I saw a tweet last night and it really resonated with me that like there's kind of these cool managers around the Premier League at the moment who are doing really well, taking with respect, less fashionable teams at the moment. I don't really want to group Nottingham Forest in this, but they were recently a championship club. Nuno, so strong defensive, really kind of fast counter attacks. Bournemouth, Andoni Areola, really high pressing, aggressive, running stats off the chart. Fulham, I don't think people know where to group them in. And I think one of the reasons for that is because Marco Silva is such an outstanding and adaptable coach that he knows how to set his team up tactically, irrespective of the opponents. Some would then say, yeah, but they didn't kind of batter the door down against Southampton last week, and that's true. But I think that's down to like a lack of quality playing against low
Hmm.
blocks sometimes where they might struggle a little bit more. Reality is you look at their team and think, should they be where they are in the league? No, they're punching above, aren't they?
Yeah, I would say so
They've got
for
some
sure.
outstanding players in there, like Robinson's going to get looked by some really top clubs, but they're punching above because the manager's excellent.
Yeah,
For Chelsea, I don't want to say a disaster to lose this game. It's not, because Fulham have shown against they drew at Anfield, right? They drew with Arsenal, they
yeah,
drew at my place. But they could have won at Man City earlier in the season. They've had some good results in some of these games. The team felt like it kind of picked itself. I don't know if that's something that's not helped. That was pretty much the Chelsea lineup that near enough everybody was predicting.
predicting.
I think Enzo Maresca would probably tell you that this sort of result has been coming. That's now obviously Everton draw and a loss to Fulham. Feels like they had the opportunity to push close to Liverpool. I don't think anybody truly thinks that they will now. It's not to say that it's over for them, but I think they've had an outstanding period, and Chelsea fans should remember this is probably more of a bump in the road rather than
Yeah,
like a full sale like examination of how it went wrong. Cut the notes for what's next. Key point. 4-day break to Ipswich. Seen a lot of people this week comparing the rotation that happened in the Southampton game, which remember was a 3-day break after an Aston Villa game. This is a 4-day break for Chelsea, and then it's 5 days to what the next fixture, which is at Crystal Palace. So it's not quite comparable from that perspective. Yesterday, I only made one substitution,
okay.
which was Nkunku on
Nkunku,
for
yeah,
Jackson. And a lot of our guys on the Chelsea Slack channel and our Patreon were saying that they almost felt like it was a change for the sake of a change. And it obviously didn't improve things because Jackson is obviously kind of does the ugly work a little bit
yeah.
better than Nkunku. We know
Nkunku.
would be a good goal scorer, but it didn't help them when obviously they were hanging on a little bit more at 1-0. That's the only change that they made. And when you look at the Chelsea subs bench from last night and you start thinking, well, they'll rotate massively against Ipswich at the week on Monday, you think, well, will they? Yeah, sure, João Felix might get a start. Could you bring Axel Disasi in for Adarabioyo or Gusto? Yeah,
Sure.
maybe. But it doesn't feel like much. Lavia's obviously had a hamstring problem, and it sounds like he's probably unlikely to make Monday. I don't
Right.
think it's the sort of game they risk him in. The headline one, I think, isn't Noni Madueke wasn't in the squad. And Enzo Maresca said that it was a technical decision,
Yeah, very
basically
weird.
saying he's fit.
Yeah, but still a very odd word to use when describing why someone's a technical decision. Because you normally
Um,
you'd think personal circumstances or tactical reasons.
No, it didn't.
What
No,
does
it didn't. It
technical
didn't come off
mean?
of as personal reasons. If it's personal reasons, I don't know why you wouldn't say it's personal reasons because technical decision allows people that kind of open book to read into it however they want, and the way people are reading into it is he's not been training properly. That's how
Right.
people are reading into it. So they've obviously lost Mudryk for suspension as well. So suddenly they've gone from a period where we're looking at them and thinking, well, that squad looks massive.
Yeah.
And then you look at the bench at the weekend and he's only made one sub and you think, he's not. And they could do with having the likes of Wesley Fofana back. Doesn't sound like that's going to be particularly imminent at the moment. So, yeah, I would still say though, with Chelsea's fixtures coming up next, Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves, if you want to invest, invest. I guess people who have Jackson and don't have Isak will certainly be thinking about the sideways move. It doesn't feel right selling before Ipswich.
No, and he has been dodging this fifth yellow card superbly, has Nicholas Jackson.
He
There's only
has.
one more game to go with
So
it,
you know
and
what that means.
yeah, he's probably going to get himself
He'll
booked.
score and he'll take his. Imagine he scores. He's been so good. Have you even seen people been showing photos like when Enzo Fernandez scored at Tottenham?
Yeah,
Enzo Fernandez went to take his shirt off and Jackson's pulling it back down
right.
to like stop him getting booked. And then when Cucurella scored recently, he did the same thing as well. He was chasing Cucurella to make sure he didn't pull his shirt up. It would be so Jackson to then score on Monday and take his shirt off.
You
No,
are
he
not
has
wrong.
done well from that perspective. Yeah, I am not selling that before
Anytime soon.
Ipswich.
No,
No.
agreed. Newcastle 3, Aston Villa nil. Quite a result for Newcastle, considering Aston Villa, a good team. Obviously, debilitated themselves with John Duran's crazy jump, kick, stamp, which most
Jesus
against
Christ, you
us
made it
are.
sound like you should go to prison. Do you think it was a red card?
Sometimes those are quite hard to say that there was intentional stamp. Like, was it not in his natural running stride and he couldn't get out of the way type situation?
So,
So
yeah,
I've no problem. I think I have no problem with it. At the end of
VAR
the
is
day,
not going to
really.
intervene on that.
No.
Is worth saying. Um, could he have avoided the situation a little better? Yes, maybe. But they're both obviously running for the ball in behind. As Fabian Schär goes to ground, you could make a case that Schär kicks out at him a little bit. Not
Yeah.
enough that we'd go, yeah, you should get sent off as well. But Duran has to kind of avoid that. I don't think the placement of his left foot doesn't make sense to me. I think it's too close to Fabian Schär's body. I think that's almost the worst one, where his left foot comes down kind of really, really close, like he's trying to catch him. I think he
Okay.
knows what he's doing, but then at that point, that left foot then buckles, and then naturally the right foot comes across.
Yeah.
There's not enough reason for VAR to
Turn
get
over.
involved
I
in that
agree.
and say it's
Yeah.
definitively wrong because then they just become subjective. So they're going to go with referees' call. I think the placement of the left foot was a little bit weird, but he didn't catch him there. He then catched him on the next bit, which I think only happened because the left foot buckled when it landed. So
Yeah.
I think largely he was unlucky. I think Villa will probably appeal it, but will anybody be working at the FA today to look into an appeal, or can they speed up the process on this one?
No, they can't, James. I don't
It
think so. And
it
it
is
is what it
what
is. I think I agree with you. At the end of the day, it is. If it's been given by the ref, stick with his decision because it's hard to say either way the intent.
it is a two-game Premier League ban for Duran unless overturned, because obviously the third game will be an FA Cup game, which is against yourselves, Such.
It is. It is.
So, Ollie Watkins has been a minute's concern a little bit this season. He's not for Brighton at home and Leicester at home, is he?
Nope.
All right, that is the temptation.
It's just finding the money. Well, you've got 2 million in the bank, so it's a slightly different
It's a
situation
huge
for you.
temptation for me because I know it's next to no temptation for anybody else.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah. I just
But
don't know where I would get there without selling Isak. We'll talk about him in a second. I just don't know how you could sell him either. He's gone up
no, it's
to
nowhere to
9
sell
million
Isak.
as well. So
To be honest, I don't really want to sell Jackson either.
yeah,
And it might be that no sooner have I got Watkins in that he's then a problem. You look at things like Everton away, Arsenal away, 21-22. They don't exactly scream returns to you, do they?
no,
Although I think after that, there's then a run of West Ham at home, Wolves away, Ipswich at home, which is then another nice three. So I don't really want to cut myself off it, but I realise it will leave me in a structure that's very different to the majority of other teams. Once I make that decision, I've cut myself off of the kind of the Gordon, Bowen, all that kind of group, unless I move Jota to one
yeah.
of them. So, yeah, I'm just aware that the majority of people can't, because of structure, consider Ollie Watkins at the moment, and that's why it's kind of in my thinking to want to attack it. I don't think I'll be able to though. Matty Cash also has a 1 game ban for the fixture against Brighton on Monday
Five
night. So
yellows.
5 yellows. So presumably that's Concert to right back and Carlos over Mings, I would have thought, coming in at centre back. They fatigued massively in this. Have you seen Anana's pass to Joe Linton?
Yeah,
It
not good.
looks like the laziest pass you've seen all season, but I think they're just fatigued to whack against the Newcastle side that are absolutely flying. 3 clean sheets in a row, which I know people would, Nick Pope will have an impact being injured. People will go, what? Look at that, James. And I will just literally go back to you and say Leicester, Ipswich, and then largely a 10-man Aston Villa. There will be some tests of Newcastle's defensive resolve in forthcoming games, despite even United and Tottenham's weaknesses. But I think I probably do bench Lewis Hall at United this week.
He's yeah, one regret. I've got to bench him again this week, but it is what it is, I think. And you and I both bought him at 4.3, right? So he's quite a cheap.
I'm not going to play Colwell at Ipswich. I know it's quite boring, but I mean, he actually could have hauled yesterday,
I
Levi
did
Colwell.
think of you when he put the ball through to Cole Palmer, assisted the season.
I thought of me
Not
when I
quite.
heard that Liverpool might get postponed because I thought, oh, well, at least I've got some points on the bench. Actually, had Timothy Castagne's assist from the same game as well, Suj. No, I think playing against a bottom three opponent, I really want to play my defensive asset.
Yeah, I think you
So,
should. I
yeah, I
think you
want to
should.
play Colwell over Hall this week and Colwell over Castagne as well, I think. So, yes, I've used my bench boost for anybody wondering, and Flappy, unfortunately, is injured anyway, so that would be off the table. Yeah, Isak. I mean, I pretty much said that I thought he was basically the best replacement for Saka for anyone that wasn't there. Salah, Palmer, Isak, before you even think about other things, if you didn't have any of them three. People who haven't got are still going now.
Yeah, he's up
So
to 67% EO on
there is
live
genuinely
FPL.
not enough reason to be put off by Manchester United and Tottenham in the next two. Though we know that Newcastle can have the habit to not travel as well, but I think confidence is flying. The other thing worth noting with Newcastle is after these 2 away games, whether you consider them difficult or not, there is then another really good run of 4 fixtures of green that I think does appeal. They are somewhat hidden by the fact Bournemouth and Fulham at home are both in that run, but still those fixtures at home for Newcastle were still decent. Anyone at St James's Park is kind of decent for them. I think what's really working for them, and I keep forgetting to talk about it every week, is Sandro Tonali playing in the sixth position and is doing really well. He's covering up the position better, I think, than Guimaraes did. And it's also having the impact that it's now freeing up Bruno Guimaraes to be the best version of himself. They're also pretty much got a kind of a fully fit squad at the moment, but I know
Yep,
Pope's injured
and
and Sven
Botman.
Botman's obviously coming back and been out all season, but they're stable. This time last year, Newcastle were picking the same team because it was the only 11 players they had. This time this year, Newcastle are picking the same 11 players because it's the best 11 they can put on the pitch.
Yeah, I would
So,
agree.
yeah, strong as, and I mean, you'd probably fancy them to win at Manchester United Monday, wouldn't you, at the moment?
Yes, I would.
I think
I would.
probably would. Yeah, so, and yes, I'm still going to probably bench Lewis Hall. That still feels right, I think.
Yeah. Let's talk about Nottingham Forest 1, Spurs nil. Nottingham Forest defensive is another place to potentially still go shopping because they keep a clean sheet, James, against your team and stay in the top four.
It speaks volumes though that you and I both predicted
We thought
this.
2-0.
I mean, it speaks for both teams.
Yeah, exactly that. They're really good at the moment,
But you
Forest.
did an analysis on our Patreon pod on, forgive me, I can't remember what the
Right,
days are at the moment.
Tuesday, probably, yeah.
Tuesday on Christmas Eve, saying, you know, all the reasons you thought Forest would win, strong defensively, back 2-0, and I just said to you, I got nothing to add. You did my speech for me. Does that tell us more about Forest or Tottenham?
A bit of both. I
Yeah, I
think at the
think so.
moment, obviously, you have you're stuck together with plaster in certain areas of the pitch, but they're just so reliable and they're really good on the counter. They got pace on the wings with Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. Gibbs White can pick out a pass like we saw with the assist for the goal. Chris Wood is a threat all the time. Yeah, really good structure. I think defensively as well, they're two centre backs. Like I'd have both of them at my club at the moment if I could. So yeah, really well set up.
Elanga's having a little run, but it's probably, again, Everton away, Wolves new manager, Liverpool next three. I wouldn't look to invest in that. As to Chris Wood still offers a solution, although that's now Matheus James, one of Nottingham Forest's last 8 goals, I think, scored, and it felt
Yep.
like he was scoring everyone before that. So others chipping in is really good for Nottingham Forest, by the way, and the league position is incredible at the moment. They're doing so well. Defensively, outstanding. The two centre backs complement each other ever so well. We know that Nuno knows how to set a team up defensively. It suits them. I think particularly like Murillo is a good footballer. I think Milenkovic, it feels a bit like a throwback. It's not to say like he can't play with the ball or anything, but he does all the ugly shit really well. So when they're defending the penalty area, basically, which he did for a lot of the game, suits him down to the ground. And when Murillo
Yeah.
does have those moments where I think he wants to be aggressive, Milenkovic does cover for him really well. He's so powerful in the air as well, Milenkovic. So that as a pairing is really strong. If you lost either, it's a big downgrade to whatever would step in. For those who want to invest in Forest defensively, who haven't, and I can certainly understand that, I want to say Ola Aina is the top scoring defender in the game.
Wow,
I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure he was before this game week, Suj.
was definitely up there. But I thought there was still the Liverpool guy as well.
He's up to 5.0.
You're right.
Milenk
81 points. Yeah.
that's great. Milenkovic has been catching him. Murillo is still reasonably priced. But interestingly, if you were to go and add now, maybe Nico Williams is the one. Now, we'd said avoid this because there were things like Moreno being ineligible against Aston Villa, things that were a little confusing. There was the game at Brighton where like Moreno and Williams both played a half each. Williams now has about 5 or 6 in a row, played 90 minutes
490s in a row
or
in
90
the
in a
league.
row.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think that probably sticks now. And he's 4.3.
Yeah.
And he is the original baby Trent. Although playing at left back, it should be noted. If I was to invest in Forest, I'd maybe take a chance on that. But he
Yeah.
doesn't have the offensive threat of Milenkovic is the one, I think, from the set plays. I'm pretty sure if Mark Southerns was sitting here now, he'd say probably Milenkovic would be the one to go and get if you were going to have one. Mark, let me know if I'm wrong. But
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
was thinking the
confident in that.
same. Like, I don't need to. The 0.3 doesn't just. I don't think it justifies going cheaping out and going to Nico Williams. I'd like to go to Milenkovic. He may be the alternative to Munoz for Rico Lewis for me. It's going to be one of those two. At the moment, I'm probably favouring Munoz, but it wouldn't surprise me if Milenkovic was where I went just for
Who's
the safety of it.
who's fifth at the moment, Suj?
In the table,
Yeah,
let me tell you.
I'm not looking at it anymore.
Newcastle.
It's Newcastle.
It
Who's
is
sixth?
Bournemouth.
How many points clear of Forest to Bournemouth?
Wow. Five.
Just 5 points.
5 points clear. Forest are of Bournemouth. Bournemouth on 29 points, James. Forest on 34.
Nottingham Forest have got themselves a little buffer. Next game's important. If they do well in them, let me tell you, this is no joke. Nottingham Forest could qualify for the Champions League. And I know there's a lot about kind of Forest, Bournemouth, Fulham in terms of genuine qualifying for Europe on why not the way those three teams have been performing. Forest genuinely are now something for people to try and catch. All Forest, I think, need to do to qualify for the Champions League is essentially repeat the first half of this season. Don't have to do anything better than that. It'll be enough to finish top five, I think. So you're looking at them thinking, will they have to dip to kind of come out of that top five? Because no one else is going to show the consistency to carry this. You and I have discussed this a number of times on Patreon that like 60 points might even be enough for Champions League this year. It really could
Yeah.
be. Particularly if something happened to City as well, by the way. You get the feeling looking at Tottenham and Manchester United and where they are in the league. Yes, I kind of have looked. That they might just put all their eggs in Europa and scrap off the league season.
Mm.
It's open. Villa have got the complication of the Champions League football. Newcastle are obviously on a great run. City are a bit of a mess at the moment. And do you know what? Most people would go, yeah, it probably will be City, Newcastle, fourth, fifth, as it stands, with the top three being the top three. I'm including Arsenal in that, assuming that they win tonight.
Yep.
But Forest have a genuine chance here, I think. Genuine chance. They are tough to beat. They are really good in terms of direct on the counters. They can ill afford key injuries. I think the one that they really struggle with actually as well at the moment is Morgan Gibbs White. Such a clever player. Triggers the press off the ball. Brilliant way to pass for a Langer. He makes the right decisions at the right time. And I think he's able to slow the game down if necessary, but also injects energy. And I think acts as an inspiration for those around him. Really, really good player, Morgan Gibbs White. It's no surprise he's got into the England squad very recently. I think it's been fully deserved. They're a good side.
Yep.
And I need to remember that, right? Because despite what we said pre-game about Forest and Tottenham and the prediction for this and expecting Forest to win to nil, despite the fact I think we went into the weekend as the league's top scorers, I think we felt it because of things we'd seen in previous away games from Tottenham, such as Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. And you felt like they're playing against another team that are really strong defensively, who, if they get in front, Tottenham will find it difficult to break down. That's how it played out. What I would add is this was nowhere near as bad as the Palace and the Bournemouth defeats. Actually, in the first half, I thought we played quite well. I think the statistics in the game kind of bear out that it was very even. Of course, a lot of that has to do with game state, but in the Bournemouth game, the amount of chances they had when they were 1-0 up, Forest didn't have them yesterday. So it was only fast transitions. What happens on the goal is because they have the dual threat in the wide areas, no one can go to Gibbs White because Bentancur's having to cover for Jed Spence because he's ended up too far forward. So they just retreat. If Romero had been playing, Romero, I think, would step out the back line and go and meet Gibbs White. And you trust Van der Ven with his pace to deal with it. Also, I'm afraid to say for people who keep coming at me at Vicario, look at where Elanga touches the ball when he scores. Vicario beyond that.
You reckon?
Yeah, it's a really lovely pass from Gibbs White. It's beautifully finished. But if you look at the point of where Elanga touches the ball, yeah, there is no way that Vicario is not there smothering that. Any keeper that's off their line of Vicario and Allison and Edison,
Yep.
anyone like that, is completely smothering that ball. So, impact of anything in behind us at the moment because the goalkeeper can't come off his line. So, keep talking about sweeper keeping is an issue. So, the anger I think with Tottenham fans at the moment is an accumulation of this has happened too many times, not we lost at Forest because I think under the
Yep.
circumstances, it's understandable. I had a look at the odds pre-game. Tottenham were over 2-1 in places to win the game. Now, ordinarily, I think Tottenham, if Tottenham were at their best, Tottenham ordinarily would go to Forest and be sort of 5-4, anything between sort of even 6-4, depending on form and how well Forest are doing. If we'd have had our full complement of team yesterday, I think we'd still go into that game as favourites. So for us to go to Forest, the bookies were making us a big outsider basically yesterday in what is effectively a two-horse race. And Forest basically even money to win the game. So the bookies expected it. You and I expected it. We shouldn't be massively surprised. The problems are going to continue till I get my defensive structure back together and there's no signs of it happening. And Dragashin, I'm not a big fan of, as you know, went off injured at the end of the game yesterday. So it genuinely could be Bissouma and Gray at centre back. on Sunday. The only thing I'd say about that is, in a weird way, we'll be better on the ball. Like
Okay.
defensively, the first thing they did afterwards was just smash it up top, and like none of them are dealing with it from an aerial impact. And it's worth saying Wolves have a target in Larson actually, who is
Yep.
decent in the air as well. But in terms of play, what's happened in the last few games, and I think even Ryan Gravenberch spoke about this from the Tottenham Liverpool game, is they went, yeah, we're going to let him have it. And what actually happened in the first half yesterday was it was so obvious that it was a couple of times Dragusin basically carried the ball towards Forest penalty area. They were just so happy for him to do whatever he wanted with it. And so people are targeting that. And they're targeting him, not the 18-year-old boy who's playing next to him, who's a midfield player. The target's in Dragusin. Now, Bissouma is comfortable on the ball, right?
Yeah.
There'll be question marks in terms of his erraticness. Position, obviously, centre back's going to be really uncomfortable, not as dominant in the air, of course. But actually, if Graham Bissouma are knocking the ball about at the back, I'm all right with that. I trust
Well,
Bissouma more in terms of
Wolves will
passing
be
and
a
stuff.
challenge. I do back Wolves to get something from that game against you guys, to
Why
be honest with
wouldn't
you.
you?
I'm going to be playing Cunha, of course, as
Truthfully,
long as he doesn't get
and
suspended today.
there is a danger that I've kind of said to you recently on our Patreon pods that the fans are kind of stuck with Ange a little bit recently because they
Mm.
realised we haven't got a defence or a goalkeeper at the moment, which is a little bit mitigating. But there will come a point where it's like enough. And if we lose to Wolves on Sunday, that might be it, where you get a bit of a turn with the crowd are like, no, 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 come on. It's not acceptable that we've lost 9 games. I can't paint that any differently. In
No.
whatever the circumstances, Tottenham's league position and points tally so far this season is not acceptable. So yeah, pressure is growing without a doubt. In terms of Tottenham assets, you hold what you've got and play what you've got. I guess for Wolves at home this week.
Yep.
Now, if you're still sitting on Porro, he's going to play now. Jed Spence is suspended. I would say my instinct would be for those who did gamble Madison, will likely come back in the team for the Wolves game. Johnson played the whole game, so I think Johnson's probably a substitute on Sunday.
Okay. Segue into Southampton 0, West Ham 1, because James, the funniest thing I think in the table is that Tottenham and West Ham are on the same points, yet the net goal difference between the two, do you know what it is?
We're on like plus 13 or something. Might even be bigger than that, maybe. And you're on like minus 10 or something.
You're on plus 13, you're correct. We're on minus 7. So it's a net
Okay.
difference of 20 goals, but we're on the same point so far this season. I don't know what that says about the
Well,
situation.
I did
But
see
it's
a statistic
crazy.
posted last night from our opening 18 games last season and our opening 18 games this season. And I think we've scored 2 more and conceded 2 more. But the
Right.
difference in points is massive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
Good,
mean,
good.
we've got less
Yes.
points this season than we got in the opening 10 last season. Let
Oh,
that
wow.
sink in.
Southampton 0, West Ham 1. First game in charge for Uric. Is it Uric? I hope I'm pronouncing
Yes.
it right. And I think Southampton will come away like hugely disappointed that they didn't get something out of this game, to be honest with you. Particularly in the first half. They clearly played better, higher energy, disrupted, I would say, with obviously Kilman getting injured and having to be taken off, and then Fabianski getting injured and having to be taken off. So it was a little bit of a broken first half, but Southampton definitely had the better of it. But in the end, just kind of it felt like they were demoralised. When when you're on top in a game, if you then don't get on the score sheet, you can feel like, oh, shit, what have we got to do today? It's not going to be our day today. And then we were able to take control. And I think in the end, maybe just deserved it or a draw. Unfortunate for all Fabianski owners, because West Ham keep a clean sheet and you don't get the clean sheet points.
What do we know? Slightly concussion, because I heard he
Yeah,
was
it
potentially
was.
put in a neck brace, but that might not be as bad as it sounds. It can just be part of concussion protocol to
Correct.
be kind of err on the side of
They
caution.
said
That's my understanding.
they didn't have to take he didn't have to go to hospital. They were able
Oh,
to
okay,
treat
that's
him
great.
at the stadium. Was the news.
So
So
it probably
yeah,
just is concussion, most
it
likely.
is. But he's not going to play against Liverpool on Sunday. No
Why
chance. It'll
not,
be
Suj?
Areola. It'll be Areola in goal, and I don't think Kilman will make it either. So it'll be Mavropanos and Tadibo. You'd think would be
Yeah,
central
Kilman,
defence.
has he popped his shoulder maybe? Was word
Potentially.
possibly?
Yeah. Rodriguez, 5 yellows, so he'll be suspended. I mean, you'd think Alvarez will just come straight back in for him.
You haven't done the biggest miss yet.
Socek, 5 yellows, suspended. So Paqueta, who's coming off a suspension, will come back in for
I don't know
him.
why we're nearly in 2025 and you and I have just gone, yes, Socek might be the biggest miss, but here we
Yeah.
are.
Well, we did discover he's the second highest FPL point scorer for West Ham this season. I think
Suj,
Paqueta
we
will
haven't
come
even
back in as
released it
well.
yet.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a little spoiler for the quiz that's coming at you next week. But Jared Bowen, obviously popping up with the goal again. The guy is just so consistent. He's just one of the ultimate
And
example of
worth
set
saying,
and
we've said a
forget.
lot about Gordon. There definitely will be some people who've gone to Jared Bowen as well.
I saw
Absolutely.
I saw quite a lot, to be honest with you. I was flicking through the Correspondence League, just kind of having a look at where people are getting their points from, and he cropped up quite a bit in that league, Jared Bowen. I think his ownership is pretty decent. Though, yeah, with the gaps that we just described, Liverpool next at the London Stadium. Not looking forward to it. It will definitely be Captain Salah for me.
Yeah, I don't think West Ham players are investable at the moment, personally.
I
Like
mean,
if you've been on
But if
Bowen,
Bowen does you a solution, I don't have any issue with investing in
you
Bowen.
really gonna.
But
I mean,
there are better options, but I don't know if what circumstances you'd
Liverpool,
be in. But
City, I mean, Fulham and Palace at home don't exactly scream halls either. Then it's like Villa away, Chelsea away, two after that it's Arsenal away. It's not great, is it? I'm
no,
sure Jared Bowen will tick over fine, but it won't take it's psychological. It won't take much in terms of blanks with them fixtures for you to think, I want to move it.
yeah.
It'd
And
be the
Gordon's
point.
cheaper.
Is he? Okay. Well, yeah, it
Yeah, I'm
must be.
pretty
Yeah.
sure he's point 0.3 cheaper. So yeah, if it was me and I had the money right now, I'd buy Gordon. But I don't know if you already own Gordon, you need something short
Yeah,
term
Jared
to
Bowen
fix.
would not be a consideration for me at this moment. It's on fixtures rather than him. In terms of him, the asset and his consistency, yeah, great. Do you remember the winter period last year, January, February, the amount of dogs he was getting from FPL managers because he'd gone so long with blanking? I think me and a very small handful of people still had him for that hat trick on that Monday night
Monday
against
night.
Brentford. He
Yep,
had gone like 6, 7 games
it
without
wasn't good.
returning
Yeah,
before that. So I don't think it'd take a lot for a bit of frustration for people to want to move that on. For those invested, fine. I wouldn't sell at this moment. I'd add that, but I wouldn't be buying new. Same applies to West Ham. I think Fabianski and Kilman will both be misses. Soucek is a big miss for Sunday. It's the sort of one in terms of an aerial threat to Liverpool. You know, Soucek in terms of both offensively and defensively is probably the best equipped to deal with like Van Dijk, for example.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a particular big miss, and it's not the sort of fixture where you can go, ah, yeah, we're just gonna throw like Paquetá is obviously to turn it on its head is back from suspension, but you throw Paquetá in with Soler and Bowen and Kudos and Fulkrug.
I think Alvarez would probably play alongside that as well. So yeah,
I have a suspicion that Bowen, to counter everything I just said, might play as the 9 against Liverpool.
but then you're taking another big body in Fulkrug out of the team.
Yeah,
So yeah, should be interesting to see how we line up. Regardless, I think Liverpool will win. Southampton fans should be a little bit more
encouraged by the
excited. I
sounds of
think.
things.
Yeah, I think so. Clearly, fitness was an issue. I think in terms of they gassed out a little bit in this game,
But it's
but
a completely different
this is it. I
stylistically.
think the manager clearly knows what he wants, and he's not had long to work with the team. So I think yeah, encouraged is a good word to use. I couldn't tell you of any of the players like Onuachu or Ugo.
Ugochukwu, who's on loan from Chelsea.
Gotcha
Easy for me to
will
say.
stick or not stick. It's going to be difficult to see with the new
But
man
I
coming
guess
in.
Onuachu might offer a solution with people who are looking, particularly maybe once Cunha's ban does come into play, which might be before the end of the season. I don't know. Might look at going, well, yeah, sod it, I'm going to go 3-5-2. I think there's going to be an increase in potential move for that. And someone like that as a third forward might appeal. I certainly wouldn't dive into that yet because he's played the
No,
first game. I don't think that tells us what necessarily happens next. Tyler Dibbling didn't start. And I did add a bit of caution that I didn't know if he would be suitable for the high pressing style because I haven't seen him play in that as yet. But I do think talent wise, he's too good to be too far away from that team. Need to find a way to get him in that team and, in my opinion, get him into central areas as well. So, yeah, it's going to be very different stylistically for Southampton. I still think they're going to take the odd battering in there, by the way. And I can't foresee them staying up. But then I struggle to see, to be honest, any of the three promoted teams staying up at this minute in time. I hope I've really just jinxed that so that Ipswich win at Arsenal tonight. That's not wasn't a great attempt, was it?
No. Let's talk about Wolves 2, Manchester United nil. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes with the red card being quite the story because so many used him as their Saka replacement, man. That's got to be an absolute kick in the teeth. But Cunha, oof, he's going to go for a pretty penny if Wolves end up needing to sell him.
Neither Haaland or Bruno Fernandes outscored Bukayo Saka this week.
That's true.
Before we talk United, I want to say this. I want to say that I don't own Matheus Cunha in FPL. He's about to play my team on Sunday, so I'm aware of that when I'm watching the game. And he was the highlight of my Boxing Day.
He's good.
Absolutely
There was
outstanding.
I think when the goalkeeper cleared it out to him and he took it on the turn when he was
early in the first half of the corner. It's outrageous to even try it.
Ridiculous.
The ball was up, had
Ridiculous.
snow on it, and he's Cruyff turned it directly into his path.
Yeah, for a
It's
second,
just a
the
joy.
position he was on the pitch, I thought it was Eight Nuri to start with, but then they said it was Cunha. Yeah, just shows his skill level. He's going to be in demand, unfortunately, for Wolves. If not in January, definitely come the summer.
They won't sell him in January.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to. But I think the money people might throw around.
He also doesn't give me the vibe to feel that he's desperate to get out of there, actually.
Yeah,
He's not giving that
he
off
gave
in any way.
the interview after the game, and he came across really well. You know, kind of like, are you the same guy that was 2 games ago punching
He
a steward in
seems
the
like
face?
quite a positive person, yeah.
He really came across well. It didn't make sense to me that he was the same guy ripping glasses off people's faces and stuff. But good, hell of a player, and golden assist again.
Now, there's a downside coming, and whilst I talk Suj, please grab up Matheus Cunha's statistics from this season. So, but we'll talk about the positioning first, because despite the fact he was the best player on the pitch, absolutely incredible, has ended up with an Olympico, as I believe they say in North America, which is a goal directly from a corner. No, I didn't know that either. And obviously assisted very unselfishly and correctly the goal for Hwang at the end of the game, and was best player on the pitch by a mile, not even close. That is probably something that people should consider selling soon, even if the ban isn't coming. Now, please don't sell him this week, right? Because Dr. Tottenham, well, Wolves don't need a doctor right now because it's much better. 2 clean sheets, they probably kept as many clean sheets in the last week as they kept in the last year, and ironically. Wolves don't need a doctor right now, but Tottenham will see them on Sunday. So you are not selling Matheus Cunha for Sunday. And unless something is announced from the FA today, you are going to be good to go for Sunday. And there is no indication at the moment that any announcement is coming from Matheus Cunha. I suspect this probably will be the last game, I think, is my instinct. But it's New Year's next week, so that's more partying for big wigs at the FA to do. So you might get one more, maybe. In any case, let's just say it came back round that, no, actually, he's not getting banned. He's going to continue playing. Incredible talent, talisman for Wolves, all the sort of things you'd want. Positioning-wise, you almost summon it up with that brilliant Cruyff turn we spoke about in the first half. He's basically in a left-back position. So what they've decided to do with him is they're going to go with a back three. That's clear how Pereira wants to play. And by the way, he comes across really likable as well so far. He seems so happy to be there. And we heard he was going to be this volatile nutcase character. He's come across really well so far. What he's
Early
decided
days.
to do in this league, if you play kind of like a 3-4-2-1 system, which I've seen, Antonio Conte's Tottenham, seen it now with Amrim, very familiar with it. There is a massive danger you will get down the sides of your 2 central midfield players in half spaces, which is a dangerous area. You don't want to let your other guards and your people like that doing damage. He quite often was joining in like a third midfielder off the ball, And clearly he had freedom to drop in deep pretty much anywhere down the left-hand side of the pitch to allow Ait-Nouri, encouragingly, yeah, to push on and be what he is, Wolves' best player. He's pinging 60-yard passes out wide. You know what he does do a little bit though when he plays a really nice pass? He admires it quite a bit rather than following it. There was
Yeah, I
one
get that.
breakaway they had towards the end of the game and they had four up and you're looking around, where is he? And he wasn't there. So he's taking on responsibility. It's good for the team. He's clearly still going to chip in with your attacking returns and goals from corners and stuff like that. But he has scored from an XG of what yesterday, Suj?
Yesterday's XG specifically, it's only showing me the game. Let me put up. Give me a second, James.
No pressure. Oh, look.
0.04. XA of 0.37. But yeah, 0.04.
More to the point, perhaps, would be his XG over the season. He is 10 goals scored from an XG of 4. It's a big
Yeah,
overperformance. Now,
3.98. You're
overperformance
right.
can definitely happen when you've got players as good as him. And this lad could go and play, I mean this, for anybody in this league. He is top draw. But playing as deep as he was yesterday, as good as he played in the game, would ring alarm bells for me in fantasy, actually.
I just look at the points, James, to be honest with you, and he keeps chipping away like it. That's 3
Do
returns
not
in a row.
sell this week unless Wolves tell you he's banned. He's actually, if you did want to go rogue for a captaincy this week, despite everything I've just said, it's Tottenham. Lads, it's Tottenham. So definitely starting,
However,
by the way. Please do not. And I know people are going to have some benching headaches this week. That one isn't your headache. Please play
no.
Matheus Cunha this week. And again, importantly, if you own what I said to you, I can't buy him.
Similar to the Nicholas Jackson situation, I
I
get
can't
it.
buy
It's
him.
hard to
So
buy. Yeah.
hold him.
Man United, Ruben Amorim with problems, James. Has 3 defeats on the bounce.
Could you say I thought Matt Doherty played really well yesterday
Okay.
as right-sided centre back? It was really good. Yes, United had problems. Possibly keeping my team off some of the back pages this morning. Not that anyone buys a newspaper anymore. Fernandes obviously now suspended for the game against Newcastle, and Manuel Ugarte is suspended as well. So
5 yellows.
I presume that's Manu and Casemiro, or to be honest, there's every chance because Fernandes is missing, he'll probably play Ericsson actually.
Yeah.
Manu and Ericsson because he'll want someone that can like play. With respect to the others, Ericsson's got range of passing, that's what I mean. And I guess Garnacho plays. And you know what? You might get a collective where there's less, let's rely on Fernandes to come up with the moments for us. And a collective there might work. And listen, could Manchester United get a result against Newcastle on Monday night? Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be an intriguing watch. They, at the moment, are not good enough to not end up in situations where they just funnel into a back five. That's down to quality of personnel. I don't think it's necessarily on the system. I saw them be very aggressive against Tottenham in the Carabao Cup, and I thought their setup was really good. I think the manager is not the problem right here. I do think it will have a limitation because I've spoken about this with you a few times. I'm not sure that that structure will win a league now. I think you can play it,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you're going to get enough points from 38 games to play with the back three regularly. But with United 14th, you don't need to worry about that conversation now. This will be a conversation in a few years' time, perhaps. He knows what he's doing in terms of his setup and his structure. To play it, he needs a whole overhaul of that team. There are not many players I see in that team that you'd say that's definitely right for this structure.
Yep.
Not many
Difficult times.
at all. Anana's got no complaints on the goal. Nothing happens. Needs more protection around him. They've conceded 9 goals from set pieces now
Yep.
this season. So much is made of my team, but that's like more than double than mine. I mean, it's 9 directly from corners actually. So defensively, not good enough. That is potentially an Amrim issue because the goals conceded from corners is going up. Yeah, it could well be that United write off this league. So there is no danger, as I've heard one or two suggesting they might get involved in a relegation scrap. There is absolutely no
No.
danger of that at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if United still get close to a Champions League place because it is still quite condensed. But they need a lot of new players to make Ruben Amorim's system work to what United fans want it to be, which is ultimately challenge for the title. It literally might need a whole new squad. This is going to take some time. He isn't the problem at this moment for Manchester United.
No. Let's talk about Liverpool 3, Leicester 1 to wrap up, James. I mean, this was a hard watch because of the fog. Like, it just felt Amazon hadn't taken the plastic cover off the lens on the old cameras. It was that
I told you at
cloudy.
times it looked like Liverpool playing in pink.
Yeah, really, it made it difficult
It's
to
like
try and get
whitewashing
engaged
with
in the
red,
game a
wasn't
little
it?
bit. To be honest with you, get used to all these beautiful, high quality HD pictures and all that. It made it quite difficult to watch, but Liverpool in the end coming through despite going behind.
You could see why
For
the game was in
7-0.
doubt, couldn't you?
Yeah,
There was a point
definitely.
in the first half you thought, if this carries on, and I wondered if there were a few Liverpool fans thinking 1-0 down, get this called off.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was imagining the rage if the game got abandoned with Leicester winning 1-0. Just the pure boiling of piss from Arsenal fans. I was thinking, yeah, call it off, call it off. Liverpool struggled a little bit early on. I think Leicester kind of seized the moment a little bit with Mavadidi on the breakaway. The goal is really bad that they concede from Liverpool's perspective, and I do think it adds back in that there is still likely to be some variance in them. As good as they look, there is still vulnerabilities there. Remember, was it 8 they'd conceded in the 3 games before this? I mean, most of us thought they'd win this to nil fairly comfortably. And actually, even at 2-1, Patson Daka had a great chance and completely fluffed his attempted shot. That said, no doubt Liverpool deserved to win, and largely it was fairly routine from the moment. Cody Gakpo, who I thought was the star player on the pitch, equalised with a brilliant goal. They've put themselves in an amazing position. On Trent, no regrets on what I saw last night because I think he had 2 assists that led to people hitting the post.
yeah,
But he isn't worth the money. If you're saying to me now, like buy Munoz or Trent, it's
yeah.
buy Munoz. He really is.
I expected a clean sheet. I think that's the only frustration. The attacking returns are always a bonus, I would say, with Trent. You want them a little bit more consistently than maybe with others. It was more frustrating that the clean sheet got wiped out yesterday.
I've
Though
I've made I've made my bed with Trent, and I'm gonna lie in it with him until at least Ibrahim Konate's fit, and then there might be a case of right, this is worth making a bit of
saving.
buck saving because I do also have the instinct as we approach into the new year that Liverpool games, this sounds ridiculous when they've got Mo, but Liverpool games may begin to have less goals. And you might see more of 1-0s, 2-0s from them. I feel that way, which by the way is enough for Mo, who, to be honest, last night I thought was as
He
poor as
was
I'd seen
pretty
him for a
quiet,
while.
but still popped up with a goal. That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
the
He's just
goal's
such a machine.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so good.
he's the best around in that particular position. In terms of what's next, I think we probably would expect Jota and Diaz, and I know some people punted both, to start this weekend. Would you agree with that?
No, I
No,
think one would. I think Gakpo has done enough to maybe keep his place in the team. So I can't. I see one of Diaz or Jota, and I think Jota coming in to replace Nunez. But I think there'll be a front three of Gakpo, Jota, Salah.
I think it's just rotation. It's not to say Gakpo isn't maybe now part of Liverpool's first 11. I think he might be, and I think that should be particularly concerning to Luis Diaz owners. So it might even be rather than thinking, well, Jota's back, Diaz kind of competing with Gakpo. It could even be that it becomes Diaz and Jota. We shouldn't be surprised that Nunes started last night against one of the weakest teams in the league. It's a perfect opportunity to give him some minutes. Liverpool, all Liverpool fans will tell you this, they're going to be a better team without him, unfortunately.
Yeah,
He is chaos, as we've spoken about, but I haven't watched him at all this year and thought that he is that. But where he might be useful for Liverpool is that when they need a goal in the final 15 minutes of a game. That's how it feels to me. I expect Jota and Diaz to play on Sunday. I think the giveaway is Gakpo playing the whole game last night and Diaz not getting on the pitch.
yeah.
So I think structure wise, it's the same. You can say, well, Mo played the whole game. It's just a bit different, isn't it? We know it is. Dominic Szoboszlai, I think, was probably meant to play on Sunday, but won't. because he came off the bench and picked up his fifth yellow card of the season. So presumably another start for Curtis Jones, who I constantly have kind of in a monitoring zone for me, but I think realistically, that's probably not where you should be spending your money on a Liverpool
Yeah,
asset
no,
at the
doesn't
moment.
make sense. They get obviously Leicester gave up another 19 shots, and that's the big thing that's been talked about with Leicester is the volume of shots they're conceding, and obviously goals now conceded as well under Ruud van Nistelrooy. Next up, Man City.
So you want me to tip up a Leicester player for Sunday? Is that what you're asking
No,
me to do?
yep, I don't know if you can you?
Right, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a really rogue one because I don't even know if he'll start. Bobby Decordova-Reid. Jordan Ayew is suspended, so I suspect Decordova-Reid, who's quite a diligent player,
I
may well
think
come into
almost
the team.
all of Leicester assets are avoidable as it
Jamie
stands right
Jamie
now.
Vardy will be a doubt, won't he? He's missed out on this one, so he'll be a doubt for Sunday. I guess there is possibly a chance that he was never going to play these two games anyway. So I don't want to say it's a phantom injury, but they might have gone, yeah, we'll save you for City on Sunday. If Manchester City don't win that on Sunday, I was going to say the alarm bells will truly start ringing, but we're past that, aren't we?
We are indeed. Good, good, good. There's two more games tonight, James. You're going to review them with Clayton tomorrow. So that'll be,
On Patron.
yeah, for the differential show specifically. So if you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. Loads of additional content, Slack community, James's fixture planning spreadsheet, which is particularly useful when we're talking about blanks and doubles and so on. Prize leagues, a whole bunch of other benefits as well, ad-free listening and stuff like that. If you want to support the show, yeah, why not go and have a look, patreon.com/Planet FPL. Good, good, James. So tomorrow is just the differential show for everybody. Is it a deadline stream?
Yes, it will be a deadline stream on Sunday, exclusive on our YouTube channel, available to everyone. Just note as well, Game Review podcast will be on Tuesday next week rather than Monday. We've got our 2024 quiz hosted by Tom Campbell is going to be out for you on Monday. The reason we're holding off till Tuesday is there's three games on Monday night. So, and they're all kind of relevant. I've actually only got, Suj, I looked. If we did the game review on Monday, I'll have had only three players play on Sunday as it
Oh,
stands.
wow. Okay.
So, well, I've got a lot playing Monday night. So we wait till Tuesday, then we're just missing the one game of the Brentford Arsenal. So we'll do our game review podcast on Tuesday. So that'll be our last podcast of 2024 before we say Happy New Year to everybody. Got any
Lovely,
questions
jubbly.
from the bird, Suj?
There are a few. Question from Jaden. Who's on pens at Man United with Bruno suspended? No idea. Harry Maguire.
No. Um, I would guess Hoyland probably would be my guess. But I think there's a number of candidates. Ericsson would maybe be one if he starts the next game, but he's not good at them. I can tell you that from experience. Harry Maguire's a decent shout, Such.
He's taken a few. He
Well,
gives it a good
based on
welly.
one howitzer of a penalty in a European Championship final, that makes us maybe think that. But maybe that's all he could do because he was so knackered having chased Italians for 2 hours. I would guess maybe Hoyland. Please don't make your fantasy decisions based on who might be on penalties for one game for Manchester United.
FPL Blue Lion is asking whether Pickford is a set and forget. And we also had another question coming in about goalkeepers that I don't have in front of me. Someone was asking, where to go with a goalkeeper right now. What's your thoughts? Pickford, he's 4.9, he's 5 million now, isn't he? He's up to, or Sells. Those are the top
As a
2 point
goalkeeper,
scorer. Yeah. Who would you go with if you had to pick one now?
right
If you're on
now,
wild card?
even though I'm extremely critical of him, no, I'm not a big fan. I think timing for Dean Henderson at 4.4 is great.
Okay. And Lego My Ego, is Henderson and Munoz too much? Would you then double up with Palace defence, or does that feel a little bit too much?
I mean, I'd prefer Munoz as an asset, by the way, to Henderson. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be flying into both. But the fixtures are good up to the blank. In the blank, by the way, they play Newcastle away, so you're not gonna. Yeah, that's if Newcastle don't make the Carabao Cup final. You're not gonna want. So you could even find that they don't have a fixture in 29. There's obviously a possibility as well, right? So, and that might matter. on your path here. So consider that as well as
It's
a little
true.
bit. You also want to factor that in maybe with Fulham assets, but let's be honest, my team's not going to beat Liverpool over two legs, is it, boss?
Very, very unlikely, I'm afraid, James. FPL Jude, how low can City fall realistically? I
Lower
mean,
than where they are.
yeah, 10th, let's say.
No, this is not a. There are too many good teams, and I think primarily are too many good tactical managers. I mentioned three, Nuno, Iriola, Silva as great examples. Those three teams play City at the moment at home, then they'll right fancy themselves. Right fancy themselves.
Anything on Blue Sky, James? Any
Yeah, I'll give you
questions over
one.
there?
It's a
Go on.
non-fancy one. This is from Chris Hollindale, but it's probably a point I want to make here. He says, "What other centre back pairings, if any, would you take over Murillo and Milenkovic?" And I presume this is a now conversation. No one's saying that's the
In the
best
league right
partnership
now.
in
Yeah.
history.
Well, Saliba Gabriel.
But yeah, quite clearly, yeah. Van Dijk and Kanate.
Yeah.
I would argue Colwell Fofana if
Yeah.
fit. If you can get a proper City pairing together
Diaz
with some
and
protection in front of
Akanji.
it. I would even argue. I mean, the thing is, this isn't to be critical of those two players. They're perfect for Forest. So there's less reliability in terms of what you
Yeah.
have to be as a team, right? In terms of defending the penalty area, outstanding. Your What they do is they play to Milenkovic's strengths, right? Put Milenkovic on the halfway line in my team, problem, right? So I would say to you, right, well, for my team, you say, would you take those two players at Tottenham? Say, yeah, but I'd rather have Van der Ven and Romero. Genuinely true. Whereas I would completely understand the Forest view would be, well, no, I'd like Van der Ven is not great in the air for what he is. I want Murillo and Milenkovic, so that's fine. So it is dependent as well in terms of the type of team that you're playing
Horses for
in, no
courses. I
doubt.
do get that. Yeah, for sure. But they're doing great, and it's
Absolutely.
really interesting. You're talking about Forest. We maybe get sidetracked a little bit. We talked on you talked on Tottenham Arse about Adu left Arsenal to join the multi-club ownership at Nottingham Forest. What I learned last week was Nottingham Forest had bought Vasco da Gama in Brazil. Obviously, Edu was Brazilian,
Yeah. There was
and
speculation they were going to do that, yeah.
Vasco da Gama was owned by 777 Partners, who were going to take over Everton. Obviously, thank God for them that that didn't happen. They went bust, and so they were forced to sell Vasco da Gama. But it's the Nottingham Forest owner who's now made it part of his multi-club
Mr.
structure.
Marinakis, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And then it
Branching out,
makes
isn't he?
now you kind of understand why maybe Adu decided that that was an interesting move for him, because he can now go and pick up Brazilian talent and bring it across. But yeah, good times ahead for Nottingham Forest if you're a fan of the club. Definitely feels like they're going in the right direction.
And they'll be very motivated for that game at Everton at the weekend because of what happened to them in the fixture last year with the penalty calls. They felt like they were wrong. So I think they'll have some personal motivation going into that particular fixture. But not an easy one. I don't think Forest drawing at Everton would be a disaster for them where they're at the moment. Their home form's going to be particularly important. They genuinely have a shot here at qualifying for Europe and a little bit more.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe it'll be Forest will come up against Olympiacos. It's Olympiacos, I think Marinakis owns in
Yes.
things as well, isn't it? Maybe they'll come up against each other in the Champions League. You never know. Right, there we go. That's a wrap for this episode. We'll be back with you next week. As James said, there's a quiz coming out Monday, full review of the game week on Tuesday. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you are listening to the show. But most importantly, stay safe, look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks everyone. Be nice to each other. Play it your way. Cue music, please, man shark.